Hey guys, Super Dave here. Today I'm going to tell my story from when I was in my mid-20s and had no money and how I figured a way out to financial freedom. You're going to hear about a guy who's a lot like you, who had no money and was working a 9-to-5 job and just didn't know how to get out of my current situation. So my story starts at 26. I had gone to college for 5 years and I walked away with no degree. I was watching all my buddies get jobs. I was watching them get married and start families, and I was still walking into restaurants, putting my apron on. All I was doing was waiting tables. It was just me, and life was pretty simple. But all of a sudden, my plate got full. I had a pregnant wife, I had responsibilities, and I had to provide for a future family. Oh man, this was overwhelming. I couldn't believe that I was not ready, I was not prepared to provide for my future family. I felt really desperate. I felt embarrassed that all I did was wait tables. I felt embarrassed that I had a 1-bedroom apartment on the side of the highway, and I'd come home from waiting tables and my wife would be sitting next to the road in a lawn chair. Oh man, it was terrible. You know, I was just at a state in my life that I felt very desperate. So the first step I went through was I decided to start working more jobs and just start working as much as possible. So I decided to get into construction. I basically went to Lowe's and I bought a tool belt and a hammer and I started applying to jobs. So I did a combination of waiting tables in the morning, and then I would work construction in the afternoon. Then I would go into night jobs and wait tables again. So I was working 4 jobs. I was working from 5 in the morning until midnight, 6 to 7 days a week. And that wasn't working. I was basically just wearing myself out, working a bunch of hours, not making enough money, and it was not a good plan, and it just wasn't working for me. So the next thing that happened to me was I sat down with my brother-in-law, and he gave me the best advice I'd ever had in my life. And I want you to listen to what he said, and you can apply his advice to your life. He said, get yourself around real estate as step number 1. Now, I went out and took night courses at a community college, and I became a real estate agent. You don't have to do that. You need to get around real estate, maybe meet with realtors and get online and look at properties, but you need to get yourself around real estate. Then he said, go to a real estate office and get a job, and don't settle for a small company, go for the biggest company in town. He said, while you're a real estate agent, you need to start investing in rental properties. And that's how you're going to build wealth. That's how you're going to create financial freedom. And that's how you're going to be able to quit all these jobs you're working that aren't getting you anywhere. So I went out and bought a tie. For my first time, I bought a tie and went to the biggest real estate company in my town. I walked in at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, and the owner was sitting behind his desk, and I introduced myself. I said I was a new agent. I had just got my broker's license and I would love to work at his firm. And he said, no, absolutely not. We're not hiring and we don't need anybody working in our office. Well, I was persistent and I never gave up. So I went back the next Monday at 9 o'clock with that same tie on, walked in the office and said the same thing to him. Hey, my name's David and I would love to work for your company. And he said, no, we're just not hiring. You know, you just need to go look somewhere else. Well, I was persistent. I was focused on my goals. I was going to work in that office. I was going to start making money, and I was going to start buying rental property. So guess what? I came back the 3rd Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning, wearing the same tie, walked up to the same desk, and he hired me. He said, all right, I'll give you a 30-day trial and let you get started as an agent in here. If I don't like you, I'm going to let you go. Well, I ended up staying for 12 years. I was a high producer for the company, and I was very successful at being a realtor. When I got the opportunity to work in this real estate office, I worked hard. I outworked everybody around me. I picked up shifts. I tried harder than anybody else. I made more phone calls. I grinded so hard to be successful because I wanted to be persistent and I wanted success in my life. And that doesn't come easy. It always comes with hard work. And I was the hardest working agent in that office. When everybody was goofing off down in the kitchen, eating donuts and drinking coffee, I was up making cold calls. I was there on Saturdays working. I was the first one in and I was the last one out. I worked harder than anybody else, and that's why I succeeded in my office. But that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted rental properties and I was hungry, and I was letting everybody know that's who I was going to be. My first opportunity came when another agent in my office called me on his phone. His name was Jack, and we called him Jack the Landman. He sold large tracts of land. He was a veteran realtor. He had the big beard. I really looked up to him. He was older than me. He was more successful. And he proposed an opportunity to me. He said, I know this guy. If you come up with $2,500 and I come up with $2,500 and we give this guy $5,000, he will owner finance the rest of the price of the house. Well, this is the first time I learned about creative financing and owner financing. There I was with an opportunity to buy my first rental property. And so we went over and looked at the house. We turned our checks in, and there I was. I had bought my first student rental for $2,500. And I realized you didn't need a large pile of money to buy rental properties. So the next thing in my life was I really needed a primary home for my family. I was jumping from rental to rental. I was paying landlords and paying off their mortgages, and it was time for me to buy my first house. I was about in my second year of being a realtor, and those first 2 years were hard. I was still waiting tables at nighttime. I wasn't getting a lot of commissions, but I was persistent and I was driven to keep working towards my goal. My next goal was to buy a primary home for my family and then go out there and keep buying student rentals. So I was on the phone in the office one day talking to a mortgage broker, and because I didn't have good tax returns, he wanted me to come up with 20% down to buy this house. Well, obviously I didn't have it, and another agent tapped me on the shoulder, this lady Mary, who I have a lot of respect for, and she said, why don't you let me loan you the 20% in a second mortgage? I will give you the money, you pay me back monthly, and you can go ahead and buy your first house. Well, now I was starting to understand how the no money down deal worked. If you can find a way to come up with the 20% with other people's money or finance it from the seller, you can buy real estate and not have to come up with any money. So I went ahead and took the 20% from Mary and bought my first house. Now I was living in my primary home. I had one rental property and I was on my way. I had set myself up because I never give up. I was persistent and I didn't let the failures or the hard times slow me down. So the next thing I did was I started to meet builders and contractors, and I met a guy and we decided to build houses together. So we went out and found a piece of land. We built a spec house. We sold it, and I made my first $12,000. Now I had a little bit of money. I had a good job. I understood owner financing, and I understood the no money down deal. I had a lot of tools that I want to share with you in my future videos, so you can learn that you don't need a lot of money and a lot of experience to do what I did. So the moral of the story is, if you're persistent and if you work hard and if you set your goals, and the goals for you should be buy student rentals, and every time you buy one, you get a step closer to quitting your 9-to-5 job. And one day you will make enough money off these rental properties that will match your current income, and you can quit your job and live off these student rentals and have financial freedom. And that's the whole purpose of my channel, to create financial freedom for you. And if you follow my program and follow my videos, it's a very simple process. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives you encouragement to go out there and make change in your life. I really appreciate your time today, and if you could subscribe to my channel so you can learn more about buying student rentals and retiring early and creating financial freedom. And I want you to remember in your life to do the most productive thing every moment of every day.